Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver and my mission is to make you excited about organic Japanese green tea. And today we're gonna have a Friday deep dive on one of our Gyokuros. This is the Gyokuro Sasa Hime. So when we're gonna go a little bit into the deep dive of this tea, I'm gonna go first a little bit about the region where this tea is from. Then secondly, I'm gonna talk about the fact that it is a blend and what it actually means it is a blend. Then as a third part, I'm gonna show you how to prepare it, and then we're gonna describe a little bit about how the taste is like and how this tea smells and is also on the tongue and in your palate in general. So let's go and start into where this tea is from. So number first one is, it is a Gyokuro which is coming from the south. It's coming from the farmer Mr. Sakamoto, and this tea has a beautiful kind of deep dark color. As it is a Gyokuro, some of you might know Gyokuro is the longest shaded leaf tea with matcha together. Here we talk about 20 days of shading of this tea. So this tea has an enormously long period where the tea is shaded, meaning that the sunlight doesn't touch the leaves anymore. This leads then to a strong theanine content, so the amino acid content goes up, the catechins, so the bitter particle, go down, and you get much more of this typical umami flavor of the tea. And this then leads to very, very sweet, fruity, but at the same time savory aromas, which are very complex and which are very, very delicate. And it's mostly a tea, when you dive into Japanese green tea, it might be a little bit too strong on this savory kind of seaweedy taste profile, which some people might refer it to. But when you go into Japanese green tea, the longer you drink it, the closer you get to this savory taste, and the more you also appreciate it, and the more you start to love, and the more you start to not being able to live without it. So that's what Gyokuro is, really the highest grade tea, and often there are competitions for being the emperor's tea. That's why also Gyokuro is said to be the emperor's tea, not because of the competition, but actually the emperor, when in the early times he used to drink tea, they often waited for a half a year, and only the best quality, highest quality leaves did survive this, and the Gyokuro leaves were one of them. That's why also it is called the emperor's tea. Not only that it is loved by the emperor's family, but also that it is really holding on with the quality. And it is even said that Gyokuro after 3 years hits its peak of taste, and that's why also aged Gyokuros are a little bit like Bordeaux wine. So with the time it gets better, and short after harvest it is said that also Gyokuro is not as good as after half a year. That's why this half a year, which was kind of imposed by the emperors, still swings with this tea nowadays, because people say after half a year this tea hits maturity and then improves even more until the third year, and then after it loses a little bit on taste. So this is a tea which is quite special. And when we talk about this specific type here tonight, we talk about blend. But what is actually a blend? Blend doesn't only mean, or is a simple explanation of that the tea consists of different tea types. So it's all green tea which is used for this tea, but here we talk about 3 different cultivars, how they are called in Japan. So one is the Sami Dori, one is the Yabukita, and one is the Okumidori. So when we talk about these 3 tea, I think one you might know, one which you maybe also drink yourself, is when you dive into the Japanese green tea world, you certainly are getting once in a while when you buy a sencha, the Yabukita. Yabukita is the most famous green tea in Japan. Around 80% of the whole tea is produced or is Yabukita style tea. So it is actually a tea that is not it's not said that it kind of standardized and only Yabukita is the right quality, but the reason why this tea is so big in Japan is that it has solved just one major problem of the Japanese green tea farmers, and this is the frost problem. As this tea plant is frost resistant, That's why this tea, or the Yabukita cultivar, is the most spread, and it is also very delicate in taste, very broad taste spectrum, from grassy to fresh to savory to a little bit astringent in the end, a little bit the citrusy flavor. So you get all the aspects in, and that's why also people really like Yabukita, because it kind of covers for everybody something, and that's why also this tea, it has risen to fame in the last 200 years or in the last 120 years, mainly because it was developed in 1908 until now. It has become quite fast, especially in the 50s of the last century, quite a broad spread or a large spread tea plant. So the Yabukita is definitely, when you go into Japanese green tea, a tea which you always will find all the time. So when we go to the other two, which are also in this blend, so we talk first about the Okumidori. Okumidori is also a tea which is kind of famous, especially in the region of Shizuoka. So this is where Yabukita also find it. It's kind of the birthplace of Yabukita. Okumidori is actually a crossbreed of Yabukita and a local kind of wild tea plant called Sairai, and this was the Shizuoka number 16, which was crossed with the Yabukita, and that's how Okumidori evolved. Okumidori is known for quite a good green color. Meanwhile, the Yabukita, for example, has more kind of a golden color, so you often see these beautiful golden colored green teas. These are often Yabukita. Okumidori brings much more of kind of these greener parts in. It's a very smooth, very round, full-bodied kind of cultivar taste profile as well. Some people say that it's lacking a little bit in edge. It's a little bit not edgy enough. There's no real taste profile with it. It's just smooth, round, and also sweet. So this tea, in my opinion, is one of my most favorite ones. Personally, I'm a very big fan of the Okumidori, but this is then a little bit very subjective, and also depends a little bit what you're looking for in your tea. And then the last one is the Sami Dori. Sami Dori is also a crossing of Yabukita with another tea plant, and this time it is the Asatsuyu. Asatsuyu is a cultivar which is mainly grown in the south, very, very delicate or very sensitive to frost. And this tea, the problem of this tea is a little bit that the yield, so the harvest, is quite low, and the taste is very beautiful. So the farmers said to themselves, so okay, how can I maybe increase the yield? And what they did is they crossed it with the Yabukita, and Asatsuyu then gave birth to Sami Dori. Sami Dori is an early budding cultivar, so it's around 4 to 7 days earlier than the Yabukita. So it's growing a little bit faster in springtime. The leaves are slightly smaller, but the harvest is more or less on the same level than the Yabukita. And also the Sami Dori is slightly frost sensitive and also sensitive to wind. So that's why you see sometimes when you visit a farmer, you see sometimes a Sami Dori planted in Shizuoka, which is in the northern part, and a little bit in the colder parts. But there they have some installation, and especially they kind of block the wind around the Sami Dori, as it is kind of not growing not growing easy and good when too much wind is there. So this is the Sami Dori. Again, about the Okumidori. Okumidori is actually a late budding cultivar, so you kind of have in this tea, you have the Sami Dori, which comes first, then you have the Yabukita, and then you have the Okumidori. Okumidori and Yabukita often found together as well, because these two actually kind of complement each other. So once the Yabukita is done, then the farmer can go over to the Okumidori and then harvest Okumidori, which is around 1 week later than the Yabukita. So this is more or less what I wanted to say about the blend. So it's really a blend of these three, and we can see they're different, also a little bit different colors of the tea leaves. When you just have a look, sometimes you have a little bit of brighter parts. These are mainly coming from the Okumidori. It's considered that it's not the most beautiful tea, but mixed with the Yabukita and the Sami Dori, this tea is definitely a very beautiful dark color. So this one here is from the harvest 2018, so it's like 1.5 years old, and let's have a look how this tea tastes. For the Gyokuro, what I brought with me, so you can see it's quite a small teapot. So Gyokuro often or can be done with small amounts, and it is also suggested that you use a small amount of water due to the fact that this tea actually especially develops a very complex taste profile when you gonna brew it with a little water. Good. We're just gonna preheat the Kyusu. So what I use here is 55-degree water, so 55 degrees Celsius, which is around 130 Fahrenheit, which I'm using, just quickly preheating this Kyusu, and then using 5 grams this time for the tea. Good. So the Gyokuro can be done for 2 minutes. 2 minutes is a good time. Some people say you can even go up to 3 minutes. Gyokuro is brewed a little bit longer than sencha, as the leaves are quite tightly rolled and they're quite full of theanine, so they're a little bit more sticky as well. So that's why also they need a little bit more time to unfold. And what is also suggested is that you take the lid off and you really see the development of the tea leaves of Gyokuro just unfolding over time. So what I can expect here with this tea is really kind of a savory. I also expect a little bit more of kind of a green, jade green color, due to the fact that Sami Dori, also something I didn't say before, is also, it's translated as clear green. So we have 2 cultivars which give quite a nice green color, and we have the Yabukita, which gives a little bit of a golden color. So I expect quite a green or strongly green green tea with a slight hint of a golden touch to it. So from a color perspective, this I expect from the tea. Already quite sweet, savory, definitely a good savory note I get with this tea. And now I'm going to use this one here. So I just put on back the lid. Here's the hole in the back. Then I'll take the Kyusu and then I'll pour the tea. Okay. So as expected, it is quite a green liquor with a slight golden touch to it. So you can see there's a nice greenish, a little bit of a cloudy. You can see slightly the finger behind, a little bit, there's a little cloudiness to the tea, a little bit of green, and a little bit of gold. So it's a good mix. I expected, I think that Yabukita here in this tea is around 50%, and the other 2, they are each one 25 and 25. But let's see how the taste is like. It's very, very sweet, very smooth. So I get a lot of the Sami Dori smoothness, the Okumidori sweetness I have in the beginning. I have a little bit, a slight acidity with the tea. There's a nice grassiness in the middle. This I would say is coming from the Yabukita. But it's pretty strong on this savory taste note. So a very, very strong kick. And this is mainly coming also the tea, which kicks kind of this savory taste profile. This is also due to the fact that the Sami Dori is also very rich, or is richer than the Yabukita or the Okumidori in amino acids, meaning that the trigger kind of, it pushes a little bit more this savory taste profile, this typical umami flavor. But all in all, a very nicely balanced green tea. Sometimes for me the Sami Dori can kick a little bit too much this savory taste note, but here it's very nicely balanced between a kind of a freshness of the Yabukita, then you have this smooth, sweet, a little bit of a fruity flavor profile from the Okumidori, and you got much of this savory profile which then comes in from the Sami Dori. So this is the first brewing of this tea. Let's go to number 2. So I want to do a second one with this one here. So we only leave it for 20 seconds. That's more than enough. The leaves are nicely open now. I will show them to you right now. And now the color gets even more intense. So you can really see that now in the second brewing we got much more of this beautiful green, my finger not visible anymore behind. So you can really see that the kind of the cloudiness of the liquor has increased, and now the tea leaves are very nicely open. So you can see it here, very, very beautiful. And the liquor here, so very, very, very beautiful in terms of a second brewing. Still very, very savory. Let's see how the taste is like. Normally the savoriness, it goes a little bit down in the second one. Let's check with this one here. Still very nicely balanced. There's a little bit of a more acidity, kind of a more citrusy, a little bit refreshing note coming up. But the savoriness is still very prominent, so still nicely balanced. You have a little bit more of a fresher tone, but it's not kind of a freshness, it's more kind of a citrusy tone, which I get. This freshness which I had in the beginning or in the first brewing is a little bit dimmed down, so it went a little bit away, and I have much more kind of this balance of this fresh, a little bit tingling feeling on the top of the tongue together with the savoriness of the taste profile. It seems like that the Yabukita and the Sami Dori, they play a little bit around. So first I got kind of this slight acidity, a little bit kind of tingling on the top of the tongue, a little bit more of refreshing tone, and I have the Sami Dori, which is bringing in this savory sweetness, strong character of the umami flavor profile. So this is definitely a nice play which I get from the second brewing, and the Okumidori seems to kind of not disappear, but being more in the background. I got now a little bit of sweetness, this little bit of fruitiness, which is kind of driven more through the Okumidori. So a very beautiful tea. I have to say it's very nicely balanced between the different cultivars, so definitely a very, very nice blend, which you can try for yourself. If you like a little bit more of the savory taste profile, maybe you should try just the Sami Dori, or if you are more a little bit on this fresher, a little bit more prominent, a little bit more grassy side, a little bit of this acidity as well, then try to go maybe for a Gyokuro, which might go more be just a pure Yabukita. So this is this. I hope you like this one here too, and thanks a lot for staying with this week with me, and I guess I see you next week because it's already Friday. I wish you a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed, and see you, and bye bye.